For most of modern history, Greenland was treated like a blank space on the world map. A frozen island, too cold, too remote, too empty to umtatter. School textbooks mentioned it briefly, weather maps colored it white, and global powers quietly looked past it, focused instead on oil-rich deserts, crowded trade routes, and warm water ports. But that era is over, because today, Greenland is no longer just ice. It is leverage, it is money, it is military dominance, and according to Russia's president, it is now a dangerous flashpoint. When Vladimir Putin warned that the United States' interest in Greenland was not a joke, many people laughed it off. Commentators joked about real estate deals. Late-night shows turned it into comedy. But Putin wasn't joking, and neither was Washington. Because behind the jokes is a cold, calculated reality. Greenland may be the most valuable strategic asset on Earth in the 21st century. And America knows it. The moment everyone woke up. On 15 January 2025, headlines exploded across the world. The US wants to buy Greenland? At first, it sounded absurd. Countries don't buy other countries, and Greenland wasn't for sale. But that reaction missed the point. The announcement wasn't a real estate offer. It was a signal to allies, a signal to rivals, and most importantly, a signal to Russia and China. Because when the world's most powerful nation openly says it wants a frozen island, it means the island is no longer frozen geopolitically. It means the race has begun. Greenland looks empty, but emptiness is deceptive. Beneath its ice lies trillions of dollars in untapped resources, rare earth minerals, uranium, oil, and natural gas, strategic metals essential for batteries, missiles, satellites, and AI infrastructure. These are not luxury resources. They are national survival resources, rare earths alone power, fighter jets, precision missiles, wind turbines, electric vehicles, smartphones, advanced military radar. Right now, China dominates rare earth supply chains. And the United States knows that dependence on China is a strategic vulnerability. Greenland changes that equation. Why ice is suddenly valuable. For centuries, Greenland's ice was a barrier. Now it is melting. And melting ice is opening something far more important than land. It is opening routes. The Arctic is transforming into a new global highway. Shorter shipping routes between Europe, Asia, and North America. Faster military deployment paths, new naval access points that bypass traditional choke points like the Suez Canal. Whoever controls Arctic access controls the future of global trade. This is not speculation. Russia has already militarized the Arctic, building bases, airstrips, and radar systems along its northern coast. China calls itself a near-Arctic state, despite being thousands of miles away. And the United States? The US does not want to be last. Greenland sits at the center of this new map. The military angle, nobody talks about. Greenland already hosts a U.S. military presence. Thule Air Base, now called Patuxent Space Base, is one of the most important missile warning and space surveillance sites on Earth. From Greenland, the U.S. can track Russian missile launches, monitor Arctic airspace, control access between North America and Europe. This is not defensive luxury. This is early warning survival. In a nuclear age, minutes matter. Greenland buys time, and time is everything. Putin's warning wasn't about Greenland alone. When Putin warned about U.S. intentions, he wasn't talking about a land purchase. He was talking about encirclement. From Russia's perspective, Greenland is one more piece in a tightening ring. NATO expansion, Arctic militarization, missile defense systems creeping closer to Russian airspace. To Moscow, Greenland is not neutral ice. It is a forward operating platform. And that is why Russia is paying attention. Why Denmark is caught in the middle. Greenland is not independent. It is an autonomous territory of Denmark. And Denmark suddenly finds itself holding a geopolitical hot potato. On one side, the United States, its NATO ally, economic investment, security guarantees. On the other, Russia's warnings, China's quiet investments, global pressure not to militarize the Arctic further. Denmark doesn't want conflict, but it also doesn't want to lose control. In Greenland's own population, they are watching carefully. Because Greenlanders know something outsiders forget. Whoever controls Greenland's future controls their destiny. China's silent play. While the US talks openly, China moves quietly. Chinese companies have explored mining projects, attempted infrastructure investments, shown interest in ports and airports, not for tourism, for access. The US understands this pattern very well. China builds roads before it builds influence, ports before power, investments before leverage, and Washington does not intend to let Greenland become another long-term dependency trap. Buying Greenland was never about ownership. It was about blocking rivals. The trillion question. So why now? Why not 20 years ago? Because everything changed at once. Climate change unlocked access. Technology increased resource demand. US-China rivalry intensified. Russia reasserted Arctic dominance. Greenland became valuable overnight. And in geopolitics, when value appears suddenly, it creates panic. The US doesn't want Greenland because it is greedy. It wants Greenland because it cannot afford to lose it. A pattern in American history. This is not unprecedented. The United States has done this before. Louisiana Purchase, Alaska from Russia, strategic island bases across the Pacific. At the time, critics mocked each move. Later, history proved them wrong. Greenland fits the same pattern. Ridiculed today, essential tomorrow. Putin understands this history. That's why he's warning. What this section really reveals: this is not about ice. It is not about land. It is not about jokes or headlines. It is about who controls the future architecture of power. Greenland is where military dominance, resource security, trade routes, climate reality all collide. And in that collision, neutrality disappears. Quiet before the storm. Right now, Greenland is calm. No tanks, no battles, no blockades. But history shows us something uncomfortable. The most important battlegrounds are quiet, right before they aren't. Putin knows this. Washington knows this. Beijing knows this. The only question is how long Greenland can remain just an island and not the center of the next great power struggle. When Vladimir Putin speaks softly about geopolitics, it usually means something else is happening loudly behind the scenes. His warning about Greenland was brief, measured, almost calm. But in geopolitics, calm language often signals serious concern, because Putin was not reacting to a headline. He was reacting to a shift in the global balance of power, one that puts Russia's northern advantage at risk. And once you understand what Russia sees from the Arctic, Greenland stops looking like an island and starts looking like a trigger. For decades, Russia has dominated the Arctic. Not politically, militarily. It has. The longest Arctic coastline in the world, dozens of military bases north of the Arctic Circle, icebreaker fleets unmatched by any nation, advanced radar and missile defense systems spread across frozen terrain. To Moscow, the Arctic is not a frontier. It is a defensive wall, a wall that protects Russia's nuclear second strike capability, especially its submarine-launched missiles hidden beneath Arctic ice. This is the heart of Russia's deterrence, and Greenland sits directly in the path of that system. In a nuclear world, geography is destiny. Missiles launched from Russia toward North America travel over the Arctic. Early detection systems in Greenland are designed to see them first. That means Greenland isn't just a base, it's a clock that determines how much warning the US gets before impact. If the United States strengthens its Arctic presence through Greenland, it gains faster detection, better tracking, improved interception possibilities. To Russia, this threatens the credibility of its deterrence. And when deterrence feels threatened, escalation becomes more likely, not less. This is what Putin is warning about. The Arctic is becoming the new Cold War theater. The old Cold War was defined by Europe, Berlin, Cuba, missile silos and open fields. The new one is colder, quieter, and far more technologically complex. The Arctic is now filled with satellite warfare, submarine drones, hypersonic missile corridors, space-based surveillance. Greenland is the anchor point for all of it. Whoever controls Greenland controls the eyes and ears of the Arctic. Greenland's independence movement changes everything. Here's the twist most people miss. Greenland is slowly moving toward full independence from Denmark. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. And independence changes the rules. An independent Greenland would control its own resource deals, decide its own military partnerships, choose between US, China, or neutrality. This is why Washington is acting early. The US doesn't want to negotiate later, when China might already be inside the room. China's long game versus America's short clock. China doesn't rush. It invests. It waits. It positions itself quietly. If Greenland becomes independent, Chinese state-backed firms could offer mining capital, build infrastructure, lock in long-term supply agreements. The US knows this pattern. It has seen it in Africa, in Latin America, in the Pacific. Greenland represents a chance to stop the pattern before it starts. Buying influence now is cheaper than fighting for it later. Denmark's dilemma is becoming unsustainable. Denmark wants to protect Greenland, but Denmark cannot fund massive Arctic development alone, defend Greenland militarily by itself, compete with US or Chinese capital. That puts Copenhagen in a bind. Accept US dominance or risk losing control entirely. Putin understands this vulnerability. That's why Russia speaks directly, not to Denmark, but to Washington. Why this is about the next 10 years, not today. This is not a crisis yet. It's a setup. The most dangerous phase of geopolitical rivalry is the pre-crisis phase, when everyone is preparing, but no one is openly fighting. Greenland is being prepared. Infrastructure is expanding. Bases are modernizing. Resources are being mapped. Nothing explosive, just irreversible. The real meaning of buying Greenland. The phrase shocked people because it sounded crude, but in reality, it translated to something far more subtle. We intend to dominate Greenland's future trajectory, not through invasion, not through coercion, through economics, security guarantees, and long-term alignment. Putin's warning wasn't outrage, it was recognition. Recognition that America is moving upstream before the competition becomes violent. Why Greenland could decide the next global order. If the 20th century was about oil fields and warm water ports, the 21st century is about data routes, space surveillance, rare earth control, Arctic access. Greenland sits at the intersection of all four. That makes it too valuable to ignore, too dangerous to fight over openly. Which is why the battle is quiet, for now. No sanctions, no troop movements, no fiery speeches, just positioning. History shows us something uncomfortable. The loud wars come after the quiet decisions. Greenland is one of those decisions. And Putin's warning was not a threat. It was a reminder. Some moves cannot be undone. Greenland will never be just ice again. It has been seen, measured, valued. And once that happens, innocence disappears from geopolitics. The United States understands this. Russia understands this. China understands this. The only unknown is how fast the Arctic transforms from frontier to front line. And when it does, the world will look back at these early warnings and realize this wasn't the beginning. It was the moment everyone finally admitted what Greenland really is.